Doctor, what if the things that you have been told about Dr. Burnout were wrong? What if burnout is not caused by long working hours or difficult patients? And why is it that traditional interventions like better work life balance or meditation apps or more bubble baths are so ineffective? Hello, I'm Dr. Vicki Rackner, and after coaching hundreds of physicians, I've discovered the three hidden causes of burnout that are rarely addressed and the interventions that work. I'd like to share them with you today. But first, let me ask you to do something. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell because this is just the beginning of conversations we need to have as physicians about topics that matter in our lives so we can thrive. Now, let me start with a question that might be important for you to realize. Are you burned out? You cannot fix a problem that you don't know that you have, and burnout tends to be insidious. It creeps up slowly until what should feel abnormal starts feeling like your new normal. Many physicians have been carrying around burnout for so long that it just feels like baseline. But burnout leaves clues. It's the exhaustion deep in your bones that doesn't go away with sleep. It's losing joy in things that used to energize you. It's the why bother feeling that creeps into your thinking. But here's what most people get wrong about burnout. They think that burnout is caused by the challenges we face. It is not. As doctors, we're capable of doing hard things. Burnout occurs when we look at our circumstances and the response shifts from, I can do hard things, to two specific thoughts. I cannot do this, and I cannot see a way to fix the problem. So let me show you what I mean with the story about my son who powerlifts. He set a goal to deadlift 500 pounds. Now he works with a coach and follows a protocol for getting stronger. Whenever I speak to him, I ask, well, how's lifting going? Usually he says, oh, it's so painful, it's so hard, but I've got this. I'm on my way to my 500-pound deadlift. Well, then the story changed. He told me that he was getting weaker. He didn't know what was wrong, but he seemed to be going backwards. This went on for a couple of weeks. Then one day, after a decade of powerlifting, my son said to me, what's the use? Why put in all this work? I'm just going to give up. I'm never going to achieve my goal, so why bother? My son was burned out. Fortunately, he was open to talking about it. I asked him, where did this start? He said, well, it started one day at the gym. I tried lifting the bar, and it was like it was stuck to the floor. It was just a bad day. And normally I say, well, bad workout today, there's always tomorrow. But for some reason, I started saying, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? So he took his own training into his own hands, threw out the coach's recommendations, and decided to start overtraining. As I asked more questions, it also turns out that he was sleeping less and eating less protein. Plus, he was willing to recognize that he had this recurrent thought, I'm not going to do it. I'm getting weaker. Well, he was willing to try an experiment where he got more sleep and ate more protein and followed his coach's routine. But the most important thing he agreed to do was give up this thought. This is too much for me. I can't do it. And go back to the thought, I've got this. And you know what? He turned it around. He broke through his barrier and has deadlifted 500 pounds at a meet. This is the pattern of burnout and recovery. You face challenging situations. Some days you think, this is hard, but I got this. Other days you think, this is too much for me to bear. I cannot budge that 5-pound boulder. So I'm stuck and there's no way out. Now you are in the grips of burnout. If you're there, You're not alone. There is nothing wrong with you. You're having a human experience. But here's what's crucial to understand, and this explains why bubble baths don't treat burnout. You are not burned out because you face challenges. You are burned out when you think, I can't do this. This is too much. To break through burnout, you want to return to that thought, I got this. Well, here's something that will challenge how you think about burnout forever. Imagine burnout as PTSD light. So let me explain. If you've treated patients with PTSD, you know that they're trapped in a reality where their brain doesn't understand that the past is over. So let's say a soldier is safe at home and a truck backfires. They startle and suddenly they're back on the battlefield. Their body is in full fight, flee, or freeze mode. They're desperately trying to get back to safety. You cannot help this person by simply saying, hey, look around, you're home, you're safe. That's like trying to reason with a toddler having a temper tantrum. First, you help them calm down and regulate their nervous system. Only after they're calm can they hear what you are saying. Your nervous system obsesses over a singular question. In this moment, right here and right now, am I safe or am I in danger? Here's the reality we need to face. Physicians are working in increasingly challenging and sometimes toxic environments. Increasingly, we experience our circumstances as being unsafe. Well, most physicians just soldier on and deal with hard things. This is hard, but I've got it. Then there's the tipping point. The thought, this is more than I can bear, may be reversed with a good night's sleep. But as more time goes by with the sense, this is too much for me to bear, you start to experience the world as a dangerous place. The nervous system knows just what to do when there's danger. The danger alarm is sounded, and your body prepares to get back to the safety of the cave. But here's the problem. The solutions to the problems we face are not solved by fighting or fleeing or freezing. We need access to our prefrontal cortex, and we can't get there with the dysregulated nervous system fighting to stay alive. We must first get to calm. But here's the challenge. We cannot think our way back to calm. Often body-based somatic interventions like breathing or grounding exercises are the most effective ways to do this. The failure to recognize the contributions of the dysregulated nervous system to burnout pose a barrier to both diagnosis and treatment. And here's the catch. So many of us are going about our days with the dysregulated nervous system that it just feels normal. So let me share a personal example. Early in the pandemic, I was doing my weekly social outing, a trip to the grocery store. I made a beeline to the paper goods aisle and saw empty shelves. No toilet paper, no paper towels, no napkins, no nothing. My heart started racing. I felt that cold grip in my gut and I froze. Those empty shelves became my saber-toothed tiger, triggering the same response our ancestors had when we were prey. Now, because I have experience scanning my body, I recognized what was happening. I started breathing deeply and told myself, you are not going to die without toilet paper. You are safe. Our bodies are not designed to be chronically fighting or fleeing or freezing. The danger response is designed as a short-term solution to a time-limited problem. How to escape predators. When you are burned out, you are stuck there, and you cannot build wealth or make good career decisions or find creative solutions from your reptile brain. You need to calm down to access the higher parts of your brain. So, somebody who is burned out feels unsafe. They experience their circumstances as unsafe, and the nervous system is just there to take care of it. Now, as we look at the data, we know that there is a connection between burnout and finances. And you might be wondering, what does money have to do with burnout? This is where it gets both interesting and alarming. What were the biggest threats to life in the Paleolithic era? Well, predators, injury, and lack of access to resources like food or shelter. Well, we don't worry much about predators anymore, and most of us, fortunately, do not deal with food insecurity. But the circumstances that most reliably triggers a sense of danger in modern life is financial scarcity. Your nervous system can respond to concerns about investment losses or declining incomes or rising expenses as if they were immediate threats to your survival. You may experience anxiety when you get an unexpected bill or panic watching a volatile stock market. But fighting, fleeing, or freezing make financial situations worse, not better. I have a hobby. I collect stories about doctors and their relationship with money. I've met physicians with millions of dollars in net worth who still worry about being homeless or hungry. These are often people who live through financial trauma. Maybe it's the Great Depression, maybe it's childhood poverty, maybe their incomes dropped 80% overnight when elective cases were put on hold during the pandemic. Financial PTSD is like having a smoke alarm that goes off every time you make toast. The alarm system gets stuck, responding to the past danger as if it were the present reality. Dr. Berry told me when I was 6 years old, we lost our house in foreclosure. I loved that house. Whenever my net worth goes down rather than up, it's like I become that 6-year-old again, worrying I'll lose my house. Intellectually, I understand this is irrational, but I still feel that tidal wave of anxiety. So whether it's a current financial stress you're experiencing or financial PTSD, both trigger the same nervous system response. I am in danger. And when you are in danger mode, you cannot make good financial decisions. You either avoid them entirely or make them from a place of fear rather than wisdom. So, a hidden cause of burnout is unrecognized trauma. Trauma expert Dr. Gabor Mate says trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is what happens inside of you as a result of what happens to you. So many physicians are walking around unaware that they're doing their best to live with untreated childhood trauma. You may recognize it when you see hoarding. Sometimes perfectionism or people-pleasing are actually trauma responses, ways that we learn to stay safe as children. So here's a clue that you might be dealing with an unrecognized trauma. Do you ever face situations in which your response seems completely irrational? Dr. Neal told me I have an irrational response when my children spill things. One day my kids spilled water on the kitchen floor and I was irate. My wife said, "Just chill, it's just water." I told this to my sister and she said, "That's funny, I have the exact same reaction." Then we remembered how our mother would fly into a rage when we made messes. It was scary being around a parent not in control. So if you find yourself with childlike responses, ask yourself, do these circumstances remind me of any time in my childhood? Now, childhood trauma can be healed. As we move forward, we can only speculate about the impact that COVID will have on trauma rates. The important thing to understand is that unrecognized trauma keeps your nervous system more sensitive, more prone to dysregulation. And a dysregulated nervous system is the foundation of burnout. Now, here is another big secret when it comes to treating burnout. When we face difficulties, the human response is to ask, how do I change these circumstances? But what if you didn't fight against your current reality? What if instead you decided to make peace with the idea, this is how things are right now. I cannot change my circumstances. Instead, you focus on what changes you can make to create your own reality. So let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. I volunteered for an organization that provided free coaching to burned out physicians during the pandemic. A woman I'll call Dr. Laura wanted help deciding whether to leave her stressful job as a department head. I asked her what was causing her stress. She said that the problems that she and her staff faced were too big to solve. She wanted to be an effective leader, but saw that she was useless. That was her word. I asked, well, what does it mean to be an effective leader? She said, well, I should be able to fix problems. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Because you cannot solve your staff's problems in unprecedented time, you think that you are an ineffective leader. She agreed. I asked, well, have you ever treated patients you cannot cure? She said, of course. I asked, what happens then? Do you think of yourself as a bad doctor? She said, of course not. Sometimes I think I'm at my best, making my most important contribution under those circumstances. I let this patient know they are not alone. I clarified, so you don't need to fix things to be a good doctor. You can be a good doctor simply by being present. She nodded. I asked, is it possible to be an effective leader even when you cannot fix things? I felt a shift in her energy. She said, of course, I just never thought of it that way. So she decided to host lunches with Dr. Laura. She would sit down with an individual staff member, one at a time, have lunch, and just find out what it was like to be them. This program was wildly successful. In fact, people started asking her about this and how they could duplicate it in their own departments. So simply by changing one thought, what it means to be a good leader, Dr. Laura transformed her life. So here's the reality we need to face. Physicians are working in increasingly challenging environments. Doctors are dealing with too many bureaucratic tasks, with electronic medical records. Nearly 2/3 of physicians are considering leaving the profession earlier than planned. Burnout prevalence is about 50% today. And honestly, it's surprising that it's not 100%. Neurologist Viktor Frankl lived through the Holocaust. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he asked the question about why some people were able to survive. And he observed that it was the people who embraced the choices that they had that kept them alive. They could decide whether to eat their morsel of bread now or later, whether they even wanted to give away some of their morsel to somebody else. When there was no more bread, they could decide whether or not to blink their eye in the moment. You too can direct your attention to places in your life where you do have impact. So when you think, this problem is too big for me, break it down. Is there a part of the problem that you can change? Often breaking through burnout means coming to radical acceptance of circumstances we cannot change while focusing our energy on things that we can control. How do you actually regulate your nervous system and break through burnout? Here are some key steps. Step number 1, master the body scan. Start paying attention to your body and identifying when your danger response is activated. What sensations do you feel when you sense danger? Is it in your gut or your chest or your throat? Step number 2, rename your physical sensations. When I first started speaking professionally, I would tell myself, I get anxious before I speak. My coach suggested that I rename the sensation and say to myself, I get excited before I speak. This simple reframing was incredibly powerful. Step number 3, practice feeling your feelings. So, feelings are nothing more than sensations in your body that offer information. The process of naming your feelings helps create separation between you and your feelings, making them easier to manage. Step number 4, master re-regulation skills. So sometimes you can use your thoughts to move in the direction of calm. When I saw those empty grocery store shelves, I told myself, you're not going to die without toilet paper. You're safe. Sometimes, though, body-based interventions are more effective. Try square breathing. You breathe in for 4 counts, hold the breath for 4 counts, exhale for 4, and then hold empty for 4. Now, when you're running for your life, you don't have time to exhale. With this kind of intentional breathing, with an emphasis on the exhale, you're giving your nervous system evidence that you are safe. Step number 5, identify your safety and danger triggers. Know what makes you feel safe and notice what makes you feel unsafe. This is more important than most people realize. When my 90-pound dog Mutt Pup died a few months ago, I suddenly realized how much I had counted on him to protect me if I was alone in the house or I was walking alone on the beach. I hadn't even been conscious of that sense of safety until he was gone. Small things can trigger a danger response when you're already stressed. Something as simple as your car being low on gas or your refrigerator shelves looking a little empty might send you into a panic mode if you're already feeling financially vulnerable. So pay attention to patterns. What circumstances make you feel secure? Maybe it's getting together with friends. What situation triggers I'm not safe? Once you know your own triggers, you can make conscious choices about how to respond to them instead of being at their mercy. Please download a worksheet that I've created to help you identify your safety and danger triggers. I'll leave a link below. Invest in the activities that make you feel safe. In that way, you are less vulnerable to this idea, there is nothing that I can do to help. Step number 6, choose your thoughts consciously. Every time you face tough circumstances, you have a choice. You can say, this is hard, but I've got it. This keeps your nervous system regulated so you have access to great solutions in your prefrontal cortex. Or you can say, I cannot do this, or this problem is too big for me, which your nervous system hears as danger. Your self-talk matters more than you realize. Witness your thoughts and always ask yourself, if you think the problem is too big for me, what problem can I manage? It's possible to break through burnout. Here's what I want you to understand. The journey from burnout to what I call true wealth, the flip side of the burnout coin, the financial freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it, begins with regulating your nervous system. You cannot make good choices from your reptile brain just wanting to get back to safety. Remember my son's powerlifting story? Well, I'd like to show you a video of where he is now, deadlifting not just 500 pounds, but 625 pounds.
Video. All right.
capable of so much more than we ever imagined. Now, if you're burned out, replay this in your mind and imagine what's possible for you. If you're ready to break through burnout and start building the life you actually want, here's what I want you to do right now. First, grab the worksheet I mentioned, your personal safety and danger triggers. This will help you identify what makes your nervous system feel safe and what makes it feel unsafe. Next, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I'm releasing 1 to 2 videos every week specifically for physicians who want to design careers and life that work for them. We're going to be talking about the things that matter to you and your life, and not just your practice. And finally, if this video resonated with you, please share it with a colleague who might be struggling. Burnout thrives in isolation, but it breaks down when we realize we are not alone. And remember, you do not have to stay stuck. There's a way out, and it starts with understanding what's really happening. You've got this. I'm Dr. Vicki Rackner, and I'll see you in the next video.